E aí, galera, a gente tá no Animal Kingdom.
Animal Kingdom, que é outro parque da Disney.
Que é outro parque da Disney. A gente tinha, inicialmente a gente não ia passar em nenhum parque da Disney. Daí a gente chegou aqui em Orlando e falou, já que a gente tá aqui, vamos para o Disney World, que todo mundo vai e tal. Já que a gente tá passando aqui, por que não? E fomos. A gente gostou bastante. E ontem a gente tava perto da academia e tal, e eu vi um pôster grandão assim do Animal Kingdom. E aí eu achei que fosse um filme, eu procurei na internet e vi que tinha bastante coisa sobre Avatar, e eu sou muito fã do Avatar, do filme Avatar. Então quando eu vi aquilo ali eu falei, não, isso aí eu tenho que ir de todo jeito. É o momento que a gente entra ali, compra ali atrás o ingresso. E aí, para cada parque tem esse negocinho aqui, ó, que você coloca o cartão. Depois que você coloca o cartão, aí você coloca sua impressão digital. E aí esse cartão fica só para você. Para não ter como você passar esse cartão para ninguém. Né? Então, o parque de ontem também tinha isso. Acho que todos os parques aqui tem isso. Ontem a gente estava pegando umas filas enormes, de 1 hora, às vezes mais de 1 hora, e tinha gente passando assim direto, sem ter que pegar fila.
Que é esse
e aí hoje
Pass.
A gente foi perguntar sobre esse Fast Pass, como é que funciona. E aí sempre nada mais é do que baixar um aplicativo e fazer o sign-in e pronto, não precisa pagar nada. Então, para quem vier aqui, já fica a dica.
Vale muito a pena, porque o maior tempo, é muito tempo de fila, a gente chega a ficar 1h30 numa fila. E tinha essa opção de Fast Pass, mas eu achei que tem que pagar alguma coisa, e não é de graça, você tem que baixar um download e fazer.
Vegetação aqui muito bonita. Pelo que eu vi na internet, eles fizeram algumas áreas parecer como se fosse outro planeta, né? O planeta Pandora.
About to leave, already packing. Come with me, I'm not really asking. We'll get away to a place where we don't know.
Desembarcamos então aqui nessa nova área. Vamos ver o que é que nos espera. é, galera, a gente tá indo agora no T01. No aplicativo que a gente baixou tá dizendo waiting time de 5 minutos.
5, 10 minutos, 20 minutos.
O Pandora,
Agora mais de 3
horas.
210 minutos. Aqui é meio floresta amazônica, né? Rainforest.
Supposedly an anteater. An anteater, not just an anteater, southern giant.
Tá dormindo em algum lugar.
verde alegre.
Ele era herbívoro, né?
É.
A gente vai pegar um trem agora para um lugar chamado
Rafiki's. It's not such a big area, but yeah. 5 minutes there, 5 minutes to come back. Appears to be, parece uma área pequena.
Animada?
É legal que não tem fila. Porque e é bonitinho, é tudo muito temático. Você fica imerso nessa cultura. Até a estação tem essa temática africana, os nomes. Tá ali escrito Way Out Kutoka. O trem é interessante aqui dentro. Ali tá escrito Wawa Matmo Wajanji. Keep looking for portraits. Eu não sei o que é portrait.
And avoid leaning out toward the railing. Remain seated until the train comes to a complete stop. And please be sure to watch your children as you exit. Go well and explore.
A gente está agora na área da Ásia, onde tem esse lagarto, tem tigres e macacos.
Nossa, aqui é bem fresquinho. Olha. Aí esse tá preso. Uma área pequena, hein?
So safety, Daddy. I just are really. Where is he?
There's a monkey on top of the tree.
Tira.
2 monkeys up there.
And where's Tyler?
No one's paying tonight. It's just one.
Ah, que bacana. Ah, tem que ver. Olha o filho dele. A bunda dele. Ele tem uma bunda grande.
A outra semana.
Olha o bundão dele.
Esses daí são uma preguiça. Aqueles outros lá se movimentam super rápido.
Mas tu vê?
esse daí não é um full.
Scoot back
roll.
just a little bit. There you go. Right here.
Olha o tamanho da mão dele.
No, come back.
Oh wait, that's a little one though, so maybe that's.
No, that's a sibling. That's a
That got two. No, that looks like mama.
They look like statues.
Where's the man right there?
Yeah, he's watching us. You can see his eyes. Oh, he woke up because he's watching.
Because he's seen them move. He's the one that watches.
That one right here. That's
Yeah, they go through color schemes.
Do you turn to?
Yeah, when they're born, they're all born gold. When they wander away from mom, they turn to black. And then when the girls hit maturity, they turn back to gold.
Oh my
And
god,
the boys stay black.
that's so interesting.
Yeah, the mature girls are always gold, mature males are always black.
Olha, bebês.
And she's got about a year and a half left to be in black, and then she'll turn gold.
Você escutou?
Uhum.
Caraca, muda pra gold.
They've had
Observa na hora que ele pula de madeira em madeira. É bem bonito.
before this, you had 2 boys, 2 girls.
Ah, now it's mostly girls.
And now it's 3 girls and 2 boys. So we're all curious to see what she has.
Now, do they all stay here, or do the children, some of the children?
The children, when they hit maturity, the AZA will send them to another zoo for breeding.
Okay, so they don't mix the.
They're in charge. They're in charge of the species survival program, which makes everything diverse. Yeah, there are 2 boys that were in here when she was born. They actually went to the same zoo together, the same zoo. I heard it's pretty unusual, but when the zoo came here to look at them, the 2 boys like they separate. They're pretty close. They're always following each other, always playing together, they're like never separate. So they're like, you know, what is this?
Ai,
Yeah, they didn't want to separate.
Perdesse ele pulando.
eu tô escutando a explicação da história deles.
But
Escuta com o ouvido.
she's had all 5 of them.
If she's steadily, constantly giving birth here, then she must be comfortable with it happening.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I love the time.
In the wild, each family would have a tree. They live in a group of trees, and each family would have their own tree.
Olha lá, outro lá no final.
45 minutos o barco.
Olha. Lá atrás.
É o mesmo? Esses aí tem cara de brabo do caramba.
Tá vendo aquele lá atrás?
Tô vendo. Eles estão meio atrás da árvore.
A gente vai chegar pra ver o tigre.
He's eating something and chewing on something.
Or licking his paws.
He's licking his claws.
Yeah, like any other cat would do.
Right, he needs apricot.
Are there any of the tigers in this enclosure? Or
No, this is just the only tiger in this enclosure. Tigers are solitary animals who prefer to live on their own.
For a safe journey, remember to stay seated, keeping your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the train. Sit all the way back against the bench, and please be sure to watch your children. Asante.
Bienvenidos a bordo del Wildlife Express. Para que tengan un viaje seguro.
Potato, no holding above your head like you're Rafiki from the Lion King, and no standing whatsoever. Pretty, please. Thank you so much. Alright, so this forest is characterized by lots of dense underbrush and lots of tightly packed trees. That's because lots of the animals that like to call this place home are pretty timid in nature. They do like to use all that brush to hide out in, so make sure that you do keep your eyes peeled because you never know when the animals are going to appear. Also, if you haven't already done so, go ahead and set all of your phones, cameras, etc. into action mode because a lot of the animals, when we do see them, they will be in action mode, and also I won't be able to stop for too long around the animals as per the warden's orders. I will do my best, but we can't spend all day just looking at one animal. Hopefully we'll be able to see a whole lot of them. Okay, so looks like we're all clear to go ahead and enter the reserve. So as I said, this first area is known as Little Aturi Forest. Lots of the animals that like to call the forest home are herd animals, which just means that they like to live in large herds. They will use that herd mentality to make sure that everybody makes it safely through the night. At least one person, or animal in this case, will maintain kind of a conscious, they'll always be a little bit awake so that they can watch for predators, because you never know when they're going to come from. Now, the first animal spot is going to come over off on the right-hand side, is going to be towards the right-hand side of the hill as well. Look for those black and white stripes on the legs. That is going to be an okapi. Now, okapis like to use something called disruptive camouflage, which basically just means that it looks like two different animals mashed up into one, so that if a predator were to spot it from between the trees, it might think, am I seeing one animal, two animals, or maybe no animal at all? Because those black and white stripes on its hind legs, it is often mistaken for a zebra, but it's actually not even related to the zebra. It's actually a relative of the giraffe. It has the same structures on its skull and the same long prehensile tongue. Prehensile is just a fancy word meaning that it moves like a finger to better help grab leaves to put into its mouth. And an okapi's tongue is in fact so long it can lick its own eyeball and up its own nose. I know it sounds gross, but hey, no need for tissues, right? Efficiency. Sorry, I'm an optimist. But if you look off to the left, up at the top of the hill there, you'll be able to see a black rhinoceros. Look at that. Now, unfortunately, there are less than 5,000 black rhinos left in the world due to the poaching of their horns. Many cultures believe that they contain medicinal properties, but they're actually made out of keratin, which is the exact same thing our fingernails are made out of. Over off on the right-hand side, if you look kind of between the bushes, you should be able to get a pretty decent view of it. That's going to be the saddle-billed stork with the orange and the yellow on its beak. Now, that is the tallest bird that you can find here on the forest, and I say it's the tallest bird because it can grow to be 5 feet tall, which is only 2 inches shorter than me. Now, the saddle-billed stork does mate for life, which for some of them is good news, and for others, not so much. Now, if you look up to the left-hand side along the top of the hill, there's going to be 2 different antelope. One is kind of a grayish, tannish color. Now, it is often mistaken for a deer, but it is going to be your safari guide today in our Tri Harambe Wildlife Reserve. Are you ready to see some animals? I mean, one person's ready to see the animals. I mean, if not everybody's ready, I can turn around. We're not seeing it. Let's try again. Y'all ready to see some animals? Okay, much better. I can work with that. All right, so just a quick little bit of safety information while we are waiting for clearance. Go ahead and enter the reserve. Please do remain seated at all times with your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the truck. We will be going over some pretty bumpy terrain, as you can feel. And if we do happen to spot any animals out there, and spoiler alert, we will, please do not attempt to grab their attention in any way, such as yelling, flailing, screaming, kicking, kissing, or calling out to them. This is their home. We're just visiting, and I don't know about you, but I like to be as good of a house guest as possible. Also, go ahead and keep a tight hold on all of your personal belongings, because if you do happen to drop anything out there, unfortunately, I cannot stop to retrieve it. We will do our best to get it back to you, but no promises we can get it back to you in the condition you dropped it in. So best to just avoid it altogether. That being said, go ahead and keep a tight hold on all of your loved ones, because if you do happen to drop them out there, unfortunately, I cannot stop no nesters, which just means that they don't like to nest in small groups and prefer to nest in large groups of anywhere from 200 to 500 pairs of birds, which, if you're any good at math, you know that's a lot of birds. Now, please do remain seated. But if you look off to the left, you'll be able to see some Nile crocodiles. Now, I can't stop on this bridge because it is pretty rickety, but I will go nice and slow. Hopefully give everybody a pretty decent view. There's going to be a couple nice and close to us down there on the left.
So many.
Now, a group of crocodiles in the water is known as a float, while up on land it's known as a bask. When it's time for their eggs to hatch, parent crocodiles will actually take the eggs gently into their mouths and roll them back and forth to help the shells crack, which is admittedly a much gentler, softer-sided crocodiles than people are normally used to hearing about, because their jaws are in fact so strong that they can snap the bones of animals almost twice their size. Very impressive. Does anybody happen to know how long a crocodile can grow to be? No? No one? No one? That's okay, because I do. It's 16 to 20 feet, which is particularly impressive, where, you know, if you're like me, and as I told you, I stand at a very mighty 5 foot 2 inches, that means it's more than 3 of you stacked long ways, which blows my mind every time I think about it. Very impressive crocodiles. They're also ectothermic creatures, which just means that their body temperature is regulated by their environment, and unlike humans, they cannot sweat. Alright, but you might start to notice a little bit of change in terrain. specifically a whole lot less water, and that's because this area that we're entering into is known as the savanna. The savanna is generally characterized as being pretty dry. Water can sometimes be kind of a scarce commodity out here, so it's a lot more wide open. This allows predators a better chance of spotting their prey from greater distances, gives them more time to sneak up on them, but since fair is fair, that does also mean that it allows prey a better chance at spotting their predators before they do have time to catch up to them. Over off on the right-hand side, there's going to be a couple different animals that you can see. There's going to be some giraffes, and also the only domesticated species that you can find here on the reserve, the Ankole cattle. Now, say they're the only domesticated species. They are also known as the Watusi cattle by the Maasai people who did domesticate them here in eastern Kenya. They are easily recognized by those long horns, which can grow to be about 6 feet long each. And if that sounds like a major headache to be carrying around on your head all day, Hakuna Matata, no worries. They're actually mostly hollow on the inside. It's kind of like a honeycomb structure that allows blood vessels to flow freely through them, carrying cooler blood to the rest of the body, kind of like a built-in air conditioning system. Very handy around here. Now, it does seem there are quite a few giraffes around here. Does anybody happen to know how tall a giraffe can grow to be? I'll give you a hint. It's the exact same measurement I gave you for a different animal earlier.
20 feet.
Oh, I love a good class. That's right, 16 to 20 feet. So about as tall as a crocodile is long. But, putting giraffes aside for the moment, if you look off to the left, you'll be able to see my personal favorite animal to see here on the reserve, the African wild dog. Now, the African wild dog is also known as the painted dog because of the splotches on their coats. Now, each splotchy coat is unique to each individual creature. They will actually use those differences to tell each other apart over great distances. They're also the most successful predator on the savanna with a 90% success rate with their hunts because they will chase their prey until they quite literally drop from exhaustion. Now, off on the left-hand side, you'll be able to see a couple more giraffes in the corner there, but a whole herd of white-bearded wildebeest. Now, they are another one of my favorite animals to see in the reserve because they kind of look like antelope wearing fur coats, and that's pretty much what they are. Wildebeest does come from the Afrikaans word for wild beast. They are migratory creatures, which just means that they like to travel in those large herds following rains and other food sources. Other migratory creatures you might be just a little bit more familiar with are going to be butterflies. Completely different, but still behave in exactly the same migratory ways. Now, these tall pointed structures that you're seeing on either side of the truck, and no, I don't mean the giraffes, these are termite mounds. Termite mounds are made out of 3 things: mud, dung, and termite spit, which I know sounds kind of gross, but they're actually very cool, because they end up being almost as hard as cement, and lots of animals like the Ankole cattle and the white-bearded wildebeest, those horns on top of their heads have to be kept down to a specific size in order for them to be comfortable. So what they'll do is they'll actually use them as scratching posts. They'll rub their horns up against them and kind of file them down to where they feel comfortable, kind of like how we use fingernail files to keep our fingernails down to size. Same concept. Over off on the left-hand side, mixed in with the giraffes, you'll be able to see the Samoal, this antelope you can see here on the reserve. Those are going to be springbok, those little cinnamon-colored ones with the white underbellies. Now, springbok do get their name from the way that they jump or spring straight up into the air, usually about 6 feet. So, just for a little bit of context, you're currently sitting about 6 feet off the ground right now. So if they were to wander over to my truck, stand next to it, and jump straight up in the air, they'd probably be looking you right in the eye. Very impressive. Because like I said, they are in fact the smallest antelope you can see here on the reserve, but their jump does pack a pretty powerful punch. Now, going back to these giraffes actually only sleep for about 30 minutes a day and only in about 5-minute intervals. Since they do spend about 20 hours a day eating, that does sometimes mean that they will fall asleep standing up with their eyes wide open in the middle of a meal. Yeah. And if you look over on the left-hand side, you'll actually be able to see the tallest antelope on the reserve. And that one on the far right there is actually a 4-month-old baby Patterson Zealand. Yep, all 3 of them are Patterson Zealand. Like I said, they are the largest antelope you can see here on the reserve. Stand about 55 inches shoulder height. And from a standing position, they can both jump and leap 6 feet, which means that if you stand at 6 feet or shorter like I do, they can jump right over you with little to no effort. Very impressive. Now, giraffe necks look very, very long, but fun fact, they actually have about the same amount of muscles as we do in our necks. Yep. Now, when baby giraffes are born, they actually have about a 6-foot drop to the ground, which I know sounds kind of rough, but don't worry, it works out in their favor because the impact is enough to shock them into taking their first breaths. There's going to be a couple more over on the left-hand side there. Within about an hour of being born, baby giraffes are able to stand and walk entirely on their own, which was admittedly much faster than me, and I'd wager probably faster than most of us. Has anybody ever had a chance to see what color a giraffe's tongue is? Yeah, So it's like a dark purple, dark blue, blackish color. Scientists think that because the giraffe does spend so much of its day eating, and therefore the tongue does spend so much time outside of the mouth, that the dark color might actually be to help prevent the tongue from getting sunburned. Because, I don't know about you, but a sunburned tongue does not sound fun. Now, we are entering elephant country. I have absolutely no idea why it would be called elephant country. None whatsoever, except for maybe the fact that there is an elephant over there off on the right-hand side. But if you look up on the left-hand side, you'll be able to see some monkeys known as mandrills. Now, does anybody happen to know the easiest way to tell the difference between a monkey and an ape?
Over here.
Exactly, it is the tails. So monkeys have tails, apes do not. And I know it looks like the mandrills don't have tails, but they do. They're just little short stubby ones, which makes them the largest of all the monkey species. They are easily recognized by those bright faces, which get even brighter so whenever they're angry or excited. I'm so sorry. We missed that elephant. We're never going to see it again. I'm just kidding. I just wanted to give you a better look. That's a little bit better look. Well, it's a different look. Anyway. But yeah, so elephants are matriarchal animals, which just means that the females are a little bit more dominant than the males. They will live in large to small herds of the females and the babies, whereas the males will often live by themselves or in other small groups of single male elephants known as bachelor herds. The boys will live with the rest of the herd till they reach the end of their teenage years, which is usually about 14 to 15. They actually have the second longest teenage year span in the animal kingdom, right behind humans actually, which can last anywhere from 13 to 45. Yeah. Now, unfortunately, many of them, look at that, another view of the elephant over on the right-hand side there. Unfortunately, as I was saying, many elephant habitats are currently being encroached upon by humans for the mining of a metallic ore known as coltan. You might actually be a little bit more familiar with coltan than you think, and you might actually have some in your pocket right now because coltan is commonly used to make cell phones. So by properly recycling your old and unused cell phones, you can actually help prevent the mining of more coltan, and you can help save elephants. It's a super easy one-time way to help be a conservation hero, and I'm pretty sure the elephants would really appreciate it. Now we are passing through an area known as the red clay pits, very appropriately named because they are made out of red clay. Over off on the right-hand side, you'll be able to see some gouge marks that look like they might have been made by elephant tusks. Over off on the left, way towards the back there, maybe made by that one right there. And I say that they might have been made by elephant tusks because elephants actually really like to eat red clay. Contains vitamins and minerals that they wouldn't otherwise get in their diet. Kind of helps round it out, almost like how humans take multivitamins to help round our diets out. Same concept. Now, during the day, baby elephants are actually pretty adventurous. They'll go out, hang out with the extended family, aunts, cousins, grandma. But kind of like how as kids, they'd go out and play during the day, but always be back home in time for dinner. Baby elephants are pretty much exactly the same way. Once nighttime falls, they'll always go straight back home to mom for the night. Oh, there's going to be another elephant over off on the left, just the left-hand side of that baobab tree. Because all of these thick trunk trees that we are passing, there's going to be a couple on the right-hand side. These are all baobab trees. Oh, and look at this. I'm lucky. I didn't mention baby elephants for nothing because the one that's coming up straight ahead will be on your left-hand side eventually. That is, in fact, a baby elephant. Not a newborn, but judging by the size and the length of the tusk, I would say probably about 3 years old. So it's still very much in the young elephant phase. Well, there's another elephant nice and close over there on the left-hand side. This is a very good day for elephants. Wow. Wow. We're certainly lucky when it comes to elephants, because that is about as close as the elephants can get. Now, over off on the left-hand side, can anyone tell me what these are? Correct, flamingos. More specifically, the greater flamingo, which is in fact the largest of all the flamingo species. Now, fun fact about them, they're actually not hatched pink. They're hatched kind of a whitish-grayish color. The pink actually comes from something called beta-carotene, which is found in brine shrimp and comprises most of their diet. You also get another good look at that baby elephant over off on the left-hand side there. But it actually won't be until about 1 to 2 years of a steady diet of that brine shrimp that they'll start to take on that pinkish color. When they do start to turn pink, their legs are always the first thing, so it kind of looks like they're wearing pink socks. Now, does anybody happen to know what a group of flamingos is called?
No.
A flock is a very good guess because they are birds, but it's actually a flamboyance. Yep, a flamboyance. Which is pretty appropriate because they are pretty showy creatures. Now, if you look up to the left-hand side, you'll be able to see probably one of the most exciting things you can see on this entire safari. The giant mud pit. Yep. Okay, I know it's not that exciting, but it is actually still a really important part of the ecosystem because lots of animals like rhinos and elephants actually have very sensitive skin. You'll actually be able to see a couple of white rhinos off on the right hand side down the path. It's not the best view of them. We might get a better view of some white rhinos a little bit later. Maybe. I never want to promise anything just because all the animals, like I said, are free roaming. They get to go wherever they want, so we never really know quite when or where they're going to show up. But as I was saying, rhinos and elephants actually have very sensitive skin, so what they like to do is they like to go in there, roll around, get a nice coating on there. Not only does the mud help moisturize their sensitive skin, but it actually acts as a natural sort of sunscreen and helps prevent them from getting sunburnt. Very handy. It's also just very fun for them. They do like to just roll around in that mud. Now, since we did happen to see those white rhinos, just in case we do get to get another good look at them, I want to tell you a couple ways that you can identify that they're white rhinos and not black rhinos, because both black and white rhinos are actually gray. White actually comes from the misunderstanding of the Afrikaans word bite, which means wide, which describes the shape of their mouth. So if you ever see a white rhino, it's going to have a really wide, flat mouth. If you ever see a rhino with a pointed, prehensile upper lip, black rhino. But if you look off to the left at the bottom of the hill there, kind of toward the left-hand side, you'll be able to see two cheetahs. Now, cheetahs are in fact among the fastest land mammals, able to reach speeds of up to about 60 miles per hour. Unfortunately, they cannot maintain that speed for very long though, and they do actually have such a large recovery period afterwards that they will often lose their prey to other large cats. They only have about a 30% success rate with their hunts, but they are the only large cat that hunts primarily during the day. Oh, over off on the right-hand side, you'll be able to see a couple of ostriches. Again, we might get another good look at them, but there's going to be, I think, at least one more cheetah over off on the left-hand side. Right there down at the bottom of the hill. But yeah, so cheetahs do have these black teardrop shapes on the inner corners of their eyes, which actually reflect the sun's rays during daytime hunts. It's kind of like built-in sunglasses. It's actually very cool. So another way to sound kind of like a rhino expert without actually being one, again, is the mouth. So white rhinos, wide flat mouths. Black rhinos, pointed prehensile upper lips. White rhinos are a little bit more social. They prefer to hang out in little family groups, whereas black rhinos are pretty solitary and they prefer to spend most of their time by themselves. Whereas white rhinos, they can top in at about 5,000 pounds and black rhinos only top in at about 3,000 pounds. So there you go. 3 ways to sound like a rhino expert without actually being one. Now, I think up ahead we might get a pretty decent view of the ostrich. We did get to see, oh, there's another one roaming around over there on the right hand side. Hello, ostrich. There you are, just crossing the road. Sounds like a setup for a bad joke. Why did the ostrich cross the road? Yeah, it does. I wish I knew, but as far as I know, it's basically just because they want to. Yeah. So, as you can see, ostriches are the largest living bird in the world. They're also completely flightless. They do still have wings, but the wings are actually used for steering as they run, which is speeds of up to about 40 miles per hour. Alright, there you go. A decent look at those ostriches. Now, it actually takes about 24 chicken eggs just to equal 1 ostrich egg. And their shells are in fact so strong that even with a hammer and chisel, you'd still have a tough time breaking into one. Which, again, is not that surprising because, like I said, they are the largest living bird in the world. But if you look off to the left-hand side, we are passing an outcropping of rocks known as a kopie. Kopies are where large cats do like to sun themselves, and since they often overlook the savanna, they will use them as vantage points for spotting any potential meals. Okay, looks like we are going to get another good view of the white rhinos. Does anybody happen to know what a group of rhinos is called, by the way? It's very funny. It's a crash. A crash of white rhinos and black rhinos. Pretty much any rhino is just a crash. Right over there on the right-hand side. Rhinos can also run up to about 45 miles per hour, which is very fast because, again, they can weigh up to about 5,000 pounds. They can also gallop, which means that they can get all 4 feet off the ground at once. Super impressive. Also, that one little lone antelope kind of roaming around with the white rhinos there. It looks a little bit like a donkey, but it is in fact an antelope, and it's known as the water buck. Now, water buck do get their name from the fact that they are so very rarely found far from a water source. And I'm going to tell you another fact, but after I point out this gorgeous male lion over here on the left-hand side. Lions are another of those matriarchal animals. The females are responsible for all of the hunting, whereas the males are responsible for guarding the territory, taking care of the cubs. A lion's roar can be heard by humans from up to about 5 miles away. During the day, they actually have about the same eyesight capabilities as humans, but once nighttime falls and our vision gets significantly worse, their nighttime vision is about 6 times better than ours. I know, very impressive. They can also run up to about 20 feet with a running start, and I promise there's no reason I waited till we passed them to tell you that. No, I'm just kidding. We would have been fine. Alright. Oh, look at this. We might actually get to see a water buck crossing. Again, I promise I'm not setting up for a terrible joke, but we do have a water buck crossing the road right now. Now, as I was saying, they are often mistaken for donkeys, but they are antelope. They do have those shaggy coats that secrete kind of an oily liquid, which doesn't smell that great, but considering they're trying to attract other water buck and not me, I can't really hold it against them. Now you're going to get another good view of those rhinos, as well as those 2 little antelope off there on the right-hand side, which I know don't look like much, but they are actually very impressive. They're known as Bontabak, and they have one of the coolest conservation stories of any animal. Because at one point in their native local area, there's going to be another water buck over there on the right-hand side, but at one point in their native local area, there were only 17 of those Bontabak antelope. Like altogether, only 17. But because local farmers saw that their numbers were dwindling, cared enough to do something about it, and put in efforts to raise those numbers back up, there's now more than 20,000 Bontabak antelope in the world, including those 2 back there. So from only 17 to over 20,000. It's pretty incredible. And if anyone ever tells you that conservation efforts don't matter, you tell them about that Bontabak antelope, because they do matter. Now, we have entered the newest area of our reserve, known as Magadi Glen. It was donated to us by local farmers, hoping to help aid in our conservation efforts and provide some creatures whose habitats might have been encroached upon by humans with a nice, safe place to live, like the scimitar horned oryx, which is going to be coming up on your left-hand side. This is actually going to be a really great view of probably one of the coolest creatures you could ever see. Now, I do say that it's one of the coolest creatures, not just because it has a very cool name, although it does get its name from the curved shape of its horns, which are curved like the scimitar sword, but that creature can go 9 months without drinking any water. Gets all the water it needs from the vegetation in its diet, and it will not begin to sweat until its internal body temperature reaches 115 degrees Fahrenheit. And at one point, it was also completely extinct in the wild. So your best bet at seeing it is going to be in nature reserves like the one here at Harambe, which is why it's so great that we got to see such a good view of it. And it was also a really great way to end our safari, because unfortunately we are nearing the end of our safari. But I've really enjoyed having you guys on my truck. You guys have been great. Hope you guys also enjoyed the time that we spent with the animals. We saw a lot of really cool ones. Hopefully you learned 1 or 2 new interesting facts that maybe you didn't know before. I would like to leave you with one final conservation tip though, because lots of times I do get questions from people asking how they can help these creatures without donating. Because lots of times people can't donate, and that's totally cool. So my tip is, if you've seen any animals today that have made you want to learn more about them, do it. Go out, learn all you can, and tell everyone that you can. Because honestly, half the battle of conservation is just raising awareness for many of the troubles that these creatures do face. So please do take this opportunity to look around you, gather all your personal belongings, make sure you're not leaving anything or anyone behind. For any wilderness explorers riding my truck who may need to know the name of my truck to get one of your badges, the name of my truck is Simba 1. That's right, you've been riding on the Simba 1. And here at Harambe, we don't like to say goodbye. It's far too sad, it's far too final. So instead, what we like to say is Kwaherini, because Kwaherini means to go well. So Kwaherini, everybody, go well, go wild, go make a difference in the world, and go have a great rest of your day here at Disney's Animal Kingdom. Once again, my name is Melanie. Thank you so much for riding with us here, and I do hope that you have a great rest of your day, and do watch your step once the Lord gives you the okay to disembark.
A gente está indo, a gente está chegando agora no Pandora. A gente deixou por último porque o dia todo tinha fila de espera de 4 horas, 3 horas. E a gente foi fazendo outras coisas para ver se ia diminuindo esse tempo. Diminuiu para... Um deles está 1 hora de espera e o outro está 2 horas. Então a gente está 3 horas. Um está 1 hora, outro está 3 horas. Então a gente vai no de 1 hora primeiro e torcer para o de 3 horas diminuir nesse tempo.
Eu acho que eu vou no banheiro. Ficar ainda na fila? vez que eu fui andar no outro ano, eu tava sozinha. Tava 4, ela mandou eu sentar sozinha, não mandou ninguém sentar do meu lado.
Time travelers, place all loose items in the pouch in front of you, fasten your seatbelt, and remain seated with your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the time rover. And please watch children.
Atención, guarden todos los artículos sueltos, abróchense los cinturones y permanezcan sentados con las manos, brazos, pies y piernas dentro del vehículo. Vigilen a sus niños.
Porra, botar cinto, foda-se. Dá logo nervoso, esse negócio vai sacolejar. Se isso for uma montanha-russa, não, a gente tá fudido.
Travel commencing in T-minus 10 seconds and counting.
This is Seeker. Listen up. We've got to get in, grab the Iguanodon, and get out before that asteroid hits. Let's roll!
Hello there. Welcome to our little trans-dimensional joyride, folks. I'm Dr. Seeker, your friendly controller, and a heck of a paleontologist, if I do say so myself. But let's not talk about me, let's talk about you, and how you can help me make history today with the Time Rover. It's like this. If I can bring you back from the Cretaceous period, it stands to reason that I can bring back a live dinosaur with you. And not just any dinosaur. Take a look at this guy. He's an iguanodon, and I'm certain that he is the key to understanding these magnificent creatures. I tagged him with a locator during an unauthorized field trip. Otherwise, I'd be traveling with you. Right now, our dino should be about here, at the very end of the Cretaceous period. That's where you're going today.
I've arrived, it seems, just in time to correct a little misstatement.
Dr. Marsh.
That is impossibly close to the giant asteroid impact that destroyed most life forms on Earth. Our tours are designed to take you to the early Cretaceous period. And I can assure you that all time rovers have been securely locked on those coordinates.
That's right. See? Securely locked. Access denied.
Access denied. Continue. Access denied.
Of course. We were just talking about seatbelts. Plug them in, use them. It can get kind of choppy out there, so keep your hands and arms inside the vehicle at all times. Flash photography? I wouldn't. It alters the homing signal, and that's not good. Oh, and one more thing. Those locked coordinates? We're in. Now, here's the drill. You follow the homing signal to the Iguanodon, then I'll enlarge the transport field, and boom, you're back with one additional passenger extra large. And don't worry about that asteroid. You'll be in and out of there before it even breaks the atmosphere. Trust me, what could go wrong? Hey, it's me again. Remember, only you guys are going on this special mission, so don't tell anyone, okay?
fill the room on both sides of the railing and stand on the number you were given.
Oh, they know. Look at it.
For you guys to see it for yourselves. So, let's get ready for our next... Huh? I'll be right back. Put the standby system on, quickly.
Standby. We're looking into delays with the genetic matching system.
Okay, to get you flying on a Banshee, we need to find each of you an avatar. Let's prep the genetic sampling.
I'm on it.
Okay, first we need to find the compatible match of your genetic material with the genetic material of one of the avatar bodies that we already have. Once we do that, you'll be able to link to that avatar and fly. Help us out and move around a bit. Almost. Yes, got it. Now, let's find you your avatar matches. Alright, you've all been matched with avatars. When the door opens, please go inside, all the way in, and stand over the same number that you're standing over now. And I'll see you in there.
But you don't need to put your flight visors on until we're in the next room. As you can see, you can head down that back wall over to the left, but you don't need to put your flight visors on until we're in the next room.
Watch this one. All I gotta do is raise my hand. I need a waffle maker.
Great, you've all made it. It's important that you can all see me, so move a little if you can't. Before we send you into the link chamber, let's watch this piece by Dr. Ogden, who runs the program.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Dr. Jackie Ogden from the Pandora Conservation Initiative. You're about to experience a ceremony that's very special to the Na'vi, flying on the back of an Ikran, or as we call it, a Banshee. To the Na'vi, connecting to an Ikran and flying on its back is an incredibly important rite of passage they call Ikni Maya. With permission from the Na'vi and in partnership with Alpha Centauri Expeditions, we can now bring this amazing experience to you. The way you'll be able to fly is by linking to an avatar that's already on the back of an Ikran. Let's see how this works.
We establish a link using powerful psionic amplification equipment. A human driver is connected to an avatar, which could be physically hundreds of kilometers away. When you follow our technician into the link chamber, you'll see a series of 16 link chairs. Please go to the number that matches the number you're standing on now. First, stow your gear in the storage containers on the back wall. This should include all bags, cameras, and other items, including cell phones. It's important to push them all the way into the bin. Then get onto the chair as you would a bike. Straddle the seat, step forward, and sit down. Slide your hips forward until you are against the chest pad, and then move your feet all the way forward. Wait until you're seated before you put on your flight visors. Hold on to the hand grips as shown. It's important to hold on to the hand grips at all times.